Man, gotta love it. That'd be kind of funny if you put that on this.
Oh, it'll be.
The Godfather. Your first time to watch it.
Okay, so this is why I wanted to sit down with you, is because, and we talked about it before, there are some movies that I have not seen yet. A lot of these movies are classics. One of them is The Godfather. Anytime I've admitted this to somebody, it's always been met with, What? You haven't seen it and you're a cinephile, blah, 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 you're into movies, it's your life, yada, yada. So at 35, today, I have finally seen it.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Welcome to the club. The first time I ever watched it, I was like 10 or 11.
Do you know how the TV works?
I'm 10 years old. TV's my life.
I think it's better to experience The Godfather for the first time when you're 35 than when you're 10 or 11. When you're 10 or 11, you just see like cool looking dudes in suits walking around on screen talking in their cool accents, a little bit of shooty mystery. I didn't really understand what was going on. Well, I kind of understood the narrative when I was little, but the deep stuff. So being 35 and watching it though, there's a lot more to absorb and there's a lot more things to relate to, you know what I mean? So I think it's cool that you watched it the way you did, and then I got to watch the final 50 minutes with you, which is very special. Very special. So much iconic stuff.
Yeah. In terms of the legacy that the film has, I see it. I see the influence with Scorsese. Is it fair to say that Scorsese was highly influenced by The Godfather with his gangster films? I see it.
I know that Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, De Palma, they were all
contemporaries.
Like a group of friends. They were like homeboys. They're like those kids from Stranger Things, only they're all grown men, but they're all like, they're buddies. I think that they passed scripts around to each other, and I think they encouraged one another.
You know Scorsese's filmography more so than I do, probably? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Megan is going to check on the hot dogs. We're making hot dogs. We're talking The Godfather, and we're making hot dogs, and a campfire is rolling.
And this feels like a family affair. We got Megan out here with us. We're like, it's a family.
Yeah.
Having a nice family time.
We're not in a studio, so we can't, like, there's smoke coming into my eyes, and I'm going to be, like, doing this. So it's not going to be perfect, but that's part of the charm of what we've come out here for, all right? This is real conversation.
Oh, yes. Well, you say so. Goodfellas came out in 1990. Godfather came out in 1972. Do they both talk about the mafia? Yeah, but they explore it from different lenses. It focuses on the top of the pyramid and the family aspect. The Goodfellas, really, it's more towards the bottom and where it's focused at. Now, does it show the top dog? Yeah, but it doesn't emphasize it quite like. You see it through the lens of a guy that's more towards the bottom that could never be made, but he still loved being a gangster, you know, whereas The Godfather, it's the top of the pyramid, you know.
That's a good observation. I didn't think about that. The different hierarchy aspects to the examinations in those different movies. To me, it kind of... What is happening? Come on, you can't, Megan. You can't be snapping this when we're recording. That's a sound issue. Can you please move that and show the camera?
Can we just do a take where we're just talking and then she just walks by in the background just carrying it, because it is pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
You want to eat?
Sure.
Huh?
Who was your favorite character in the movie?
Well, this will sound really good on audio, us chewing. I liked Sonny, I think, the most. He was trying to protect his family in a old-fashioned way, protecting his sister from an abusive asshole. Second favorite, I think, would be the Sicilian wife that Pacino marries.
Really?
She's attractive, yeah.
And she's innocent.
Yeah, at first, the look that she gives him when they first lock eyes, looks like she hates him. I mean, that's almost a, did you hear that? Almost a death stare that she gives him.
So something I've never heard anybody talk about is the fact that Michael clearly doesn't have a problem with women or getting women. He's soft-spoken, he's gentle, he's intelligent. There's a tenderness about him. He's his father's son. More than any of his siblings, he's the most like his dad. The way he interacts with Kay at the wedding in the beginning, it's so like lovely.
Oh yes,
He's like, you like your lasagna?
Yeah.
The way they're talking
That's
to
a
each
contrast.
other. And then the way he's able to just woo that Italian girl and woo the Italian girl's dad. He can win people over.
He's way more understated in Sicily than he is at the beginning of the film.
He has to be. He has to be low key.
Well, he's changed. He just murdered 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
I killed him, Gilbert. I killed him.
He has to keep his head down.
Yeah, which is odd. Michael does a very public thing and marries somebody, and it's a pretty big wedding. I mean, they're basically doing a parade, walking down the street with a crowd of people following them. That's not very private.
I think he might have underestimated his enemies and how far they could reach him. That car bomb was for him, you know.
Okay, so
I
can you
think-
explain this to me? I was confused about that situation.
Like his buddy that betrayed him, his bodyguard that betrayed him.
That was one of the guys?
Yeah, one of those guys. Remember, he sees him. Look, he sees his young wife. Come on over here. Take me to drive. Da 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 da. And then Al Pacino looks over and sees his henchman walking away through the gate.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's when he registers. So that henchman went off, and then he got promised to go to the United States. So at the end of the book, it doesn't show this at the end of the movie. They must have decided, let's keep this thing under 3 hours, 250, show what we got to show. In the movie, he's working at like some kind of, no, in the book, he's working at some kind of pizzeria. The guy that betrayed him in Italy, he gets whacked. I forget how he gets whacked, but one of the Corleones comes.
Are you
and
talking about
whacks
the
him.
book?
Yeah, the book. I'm telling you,
so-
the book. So the guy that betrayed him in Italy, so the movie takes, so it's like that's what happened in the movie, it just doesn't show it.
Okay,
you know
so
what I mean?
obviously we need to center the conversation on the movie because the movie has to stand on its own. You would agree with that?
I know, I appreciate that, but if you have questions about certain side characters they don't overly emphasize in the movie, I can tell you what, I can explain to you what
I know you
happens
can,
off
but would you
screen.
agree with me that a movie should stand on its own?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was slightly confused in terms of who that was. It happens really quickly with the guy running out of the courtyard and the bomb goes off. Why did that happen? Yada yada. That was not clarified.
Well, they didn't want to clarify because that wasn't important. What was important is his wife just
wife
got bombed.
Dying is not important?
No, it was important that his wife died, but what wasn't important was to emphasize, they didn't want to emphasize that because it would have gone on a tangent, you know what I mean?
I know, but
movies can't go on tangents the same way books do.
But that's the point of adaptation. When you adapt a book, you can't put everything there, and what it sounds like they did was that they took the actual events of the book but put it in there without the context and explanation of what happened in the book, and therefore there are holes in the movie.
Not a hole. They just chose not to show it. It's not a hole.
But so then
not a hole.
I asked the question again. Do we know in the movie why the wife was killed? Or why that bomb went off? You say
The
it was
bomb
because
went off
Michael
to kill
was in-
Michael. They wanted to kill Michael.
But
And
do
the
we
wife-
know that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they were trying to do. They're wanting to take out Michael. And they didn't account for the fact that Michael's been teaching his wife, his little feisty, stubborn Italian wife, how to drive, and she went out to the car on her own account. She's like, come on, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't accounted for.
Maybe I'm not keeping up with the movie, but to me, I think there are a few things. It's not just that scene, that there are elements and instances in the film that don't really tell you what's going on clear enough.
Like what parts?
Well, you have that scene in the courtyard where the wife dies.
But it's pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't need to really explain. I mean, it's pretty, bro.
You can
gotta
get
watch
like,
it
okay,
again.
so someone's trying to kill him. Like, I get that, but in terms of the details, like, who was the one that, like, why is that guy doing it, and who's the one that prompted him to do it, yada, yada, yada. You see what I mean?
The Corleone families have many enemies by that point.
Right,
it's very
but that's
obvious they have many enemies. It's not really important.
That's just, then it's just ambiguous, it's not clear, right?
Yeah, it's gotta, I mean, it's something like that.
And he's
It's-
not even interested to come back to America and find out who killed his wife?
No, he does behind the scenes. That's the thing, but they didn't want to emphasize that when they adapted in the screenplay.
How long have you been back?
We've been back a year. Longer than that, I think.
Bro,
That's a big deal.
Mario Puzo and Coppola together wrote the screenplay for the movie. So they were very strategic and be like, okay, we're gonna have to leave this aspect out. And the book, you need to read the book. I have the book if you want to borrow it. Because that will answer every single one of your questions.
No, you're not getting my point. You're not getting my point.
I do get your point.
But I don't want to have to read the book in order to understand the movie.
But we'll let your brain fill in the gaps. It's fun. Use your imagination. I like being able to piece stuff together. When there's stuff going on behind the scenes, I like that shit. Personally, that's just maybe if it's a preferential taste in storytelling.
No, I understand. Look, what I'm saying right now is going to be in the minority of people who have seen The Godfather, because the movie is heralded as the greatest film of all time, next to, it's among Shawshank Redemption, Citizen Kane,
Gone with the Wind, and Lawrence of Arabia.
Gone with the Wind, maybe Easy Rider. I don't know what other films in the 21st century are considered the greats of all time. But
Shawshank Redemption is one of the greats.
That's still in the 90s, so that's 20th century.
Yeah.
We're in the 21st.
That's right. Oh, and these days,
Past 20
like
years.
Mulholland Drive is considered one of the greats.
Mulholland Drive would
Almost
have been
famous.
a different movie then.
Well, that's the 21st century, though. It's early 2000s.
No. I made a joke.
Oh,
Because you said Muhammad. I said Muhammad Drive.
Mulholland
There would be a lot more
Yeah.
explosions.
I have a question. So you guys were talking
Muhammad
about...
Drive.
You were talking about Lord of the Rings based on a...
Yes, that would be it. 21st century greats of all time would be Lord of the Rings.
But that was adapted from a book.
So what?
So I'm just saying that you didn't really have as many questions for the plot holes, I guess, in your mind.
Because they were better at it.
In what way?
The biggest one for most of all, Lord of the Rings was made at once, and it was an intended trilogy, and it was specifically and expertly put together. The third one is maligned in the Godfather trilogy, and he even went back and did an alternate cut recently.
An alternate cut does make it better, I will say.
Well, there you go. But so then my question would be: how many books are there in the Godfather pantheon, and what happened with the third one?
So, The Godfather Part 2.
I'm being smoked.
Half of The Godfather Part 2 is Vitelli-Corleone's rise to power, and him being a little boy, him being a young man in his early 20s, how he became the top dog of New York. That section of The Godfather Part 2 film was its own section in the original Godfather book.
Okay.
But he didn't have room or time to put that section in the original movie.
Right.
So when the studio said, hey, we're gonna give you a shit ton of money and you can do whatever you want, essentially, Coppola took it upon himself like, ooh, that could be fascinating, showing the juxtaposition of the son and the height of his power. And then you see his father when he was younger rising to power. At that time, there wasn't a sequel book. Because remember, The Godfather Part 2, the movie, came out 2 years after the first one. So he took his own creative liberties as far as what direction the Corleone family goes in The Godfather Part 2, as far as in the 1950s. Because the second one takes place in the 50s, as far as the Corleone aspect.
Are you saying that the Part 3 movie is adapted from Part 2 the book?
Nope. The Godfather Part 3 the movie is its own screenplay that he wrote.
Okay.
He wanted to go its own direction.
Wow, this all makes sense now.
Yeah.
One
of the things that bogs down the third film is the fact that Robert Duvall, he didn't do it because they didn't offer him enough money. They're dicks. They should have offered him enough money. He's one of the understated key ingredients of the first two movies. Yeah, I love Robert Duvall and that character. So the book came out, and it was already, without a movie, the Godfather novel was already a bestseller. So people were fighting over for the rights for it. Who's not to say Puzo and Coppola, when they punched out the screenplay together, they probably knew that people that hadn't read the book after they watched the movie, it was gonna be a tremendous incentive for them to go buy the book because it would answer some of the questions that you have. There's probably a lot of audience members that were asking the exact same questions that you're asking right now. Because the book is like the map out, the layout. Now there's some stuff in there that'll make your jaw drop. You're like, well, I'm glad that didn't make it in the movie. There's some crazy shit in that book. The big Hollywood studio executive that they cut off the head of his horse, dude, in the book, you think he's bad in the movie? Dude, in the book, he's a nasty piece of work.
Is he raping people? Is he the Harvey Weinstein?
No, he's like straight up raping like little girls in the book.
Worse than
he's
Harvey
horrific.
Weinstein, yeah.
So in the movie you see this belligerent dickhead, but in the book when Tom Hagen is waiting in the office to meet with the producer, he sees like a mom and like a little girl come in. And then come out, and it's like very obvious what just transpired of the office. It doesn't show it, but it describes the aftermath. So it hammers home where like the Corleone, you don't feel sorry for him at all, what they do to him and the threats.
Well, I didn't feel sorry for him at all anyway. He was too abrasive to begin with.
Johnny Fontaine will never get that movie. I don't care how many Dago, Guinea, what greaseball goombas come out of the woodwork.
I'm German-Irish.
Well, let me tell you something, my Kraut Mick friend.
So I actually thought that was one of the highlights of the movie. I thought that was just entertainingly hilarious.
Well, his reaction is perfect.
It's a little over the top. It's a little bit silent film acting.
Yeah,
but it's hilarious that when he talks about, it's all a setup and payoff, which is what screenwriting is, folks. They set up how he talks about to Tom that he paid $600,000. That's 1945 money. So we're talking like millions of dollars converted for today. And they fucking chop that horse's head off and they put it in his bed. That's hilarious.
Well, it's interesting. It's
Kyle's for animal cruelty.
Well, it's nuts because
it's a movie.
He's clearly the king of that domain in Hollywood. He's the top dog. Yeah. The Corleones coming and doing that and muscling him just shows you how powerful the Corleones are. Because he's the duke is his domain. And then another duke, the different kingdom comes, you're like, okay, yeah.
Let's stay on this for a second. I think Luca cut the head off the horse.
Luca Brasi?
Yeah.
I can't remember in the book if he came to LA with Tom Hagen or not. But it would be something that Luca Brasi would do. Dude, Luca Brasi is a mean son of a bitch in the book, dude. His backstory is crazy. He's one of the reasons why the Corleones became one of the most feared, the top dog crime family in New York.
This discussion will get a lot of comments because people, this is like,
well, because it's inflammatory. They probably think I'm an edgelord to say that.
No.
I'm questioning The Godfather.
You're
but
not the only person that's questioned The Godfather.
I've never heard anyone else do that. I'm coming from a perspective that has not watched anyone criticize The Godfather. For my entire life, I have watched and listened to people talk about how it's the greatest film. I've never heard any criticisms about it. This is literally coming from a blank canvas after watching it immediately. I just think that there are holes in it. And you're telling me that there are things that are left out from the book, but my argument is that there shouldn't be that because you shouldn't have to read a book in order to enjoy a film.
I watched the movie 100 times before I ever read the book.
I think what you're getting at, it's a storytelling style that's not your preference. Because I don't feel like it's holes. I don't. You would have preferred to see some more explanation in that aspect. Like you didn't, a thing that happened in Furiosa that you and I disagreed on lovingly was this scene when Furiosa gets her arm ripped off or rips her own arm off. The movie chooses to emphasize Dementis, his little weird stuff going on, and she's ripping her arm off behind the scenes, what you don't see, and then you see the aftermath of her hand. You felt like you should have shown it. I felt like it was just a deliberate storytelling technique. Let your imagination do it, you know what I mean?
The only thing that I was arguing was that it would show the lead up to her finding the tool that would enable her to cut her arm off. That's all.
I think she
you didn't have to show
ripped
the whole
off,
thing.
dude.
It didn't have to be 127 hours.
I think she ripped it off, man. I think she was just like slowly, because remember, she was already hanging by it, and it was, you saw that muscle, that flesh
that's
peeling.
That's not something you could do in a jiffy.
What if she was like,
dude, she's like, surrounded by a whole bunch of men in a circle.
Bro.
In a circle around the bad guys are watching her. It had to be quick. She needed a tool. I'm just talking about the logistics of needing a tool. Even if she breaks her arm, it was shown even in 127 hours, an actual...
Is that a mouse? It is a little rat. Oh. Little rat. I think they're kind of cute.
Thanks.
They move so fast.
A rat just ran
You're
past
over
my
here just
foot,
like, what the
and
hell?
You're fawning over it.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're in the wild now.
This is a weird discussion.
A rat just made a cameo. I'll put that in parentheses on the
rat's
video.
like,
Fuck you, Kyle. How dare you talk about the Godfather like that?
Featuring, right? It's like you're a rat. Featuring a rat in parentheticals. That's where you and I disagree about Furiosa. So it comes back to
Harper's the Godfather. He's like, what were you about to say? I apologize.
Well, it just comes back to the Godfather is that there are some things that are, yeah, I get what you're trying to say in terms of not spoon-fed to you, but it's not necessarily, I wouldn't describe it as being spoon-fed. It's just, there are time jumps. The movie literally takes place over 10 years. And you're doing these time jumps that don't show the time jump. One of the languages of film that show there's a passage of time is crossfading, montages. We didn't even see Michael get married to Kay. Now, you could have done that in a montage. You could have done a few things in a montage, but he doesn't do that.
It's not important.
It's not important? I disagree. I think that's a significant part in the guy's life. You wanna know why? Because this guy just comes back from Sicily, doesn't tell Diane Keaton that he got married, his wife was murdered, and it's a significant part of his life where he just comes back and basically says, I love you, come and get married to me, and they do. And they don't treat it with any significance in the way that they did with the wife in Sicily.
Well, no, I hear what you're saying. By this point, Michael, the man he's turned into, he's treating the whole getting back with Kay and marrying her as a business transaction. Therefore, the movie treats it like a business transaction.
Why is it a business transaction?
It's a business because he needs to have a wife. He needs to have offspring. It's a part of the deal of him being the Don. It's also like a traditional thing. Like, yeah, remember he told. He tells her she's going to be his wife. He doesn't ask her. She gets in the vehicle and that's that. Whereas there was a beautiful ceremony. He really was in love with that girl in Italy. By this point, he's a ice cold stone son of a bitch.
But go with me, man. Like, don't run past this.
I'm not running past nothing.
They don't explain that.
That's okay.
They don't explain that rule. You're telling me that's a rule for him to be the Don?
It's not as like it's a rule. It's just like he's gotta have his offspring. It's like, I think in his brain, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna pick up where I left off, but he's obviously not the same man.
He can have any woman, yeah? He's a man of power. Why does he have to go after Kay?
Because Kay's a very likable person. They did a damn good job casting her in that role. She's a very likable person, and he knows she's a likable person. He really is legit serious about her.
I mean, he really burned her, though.
Yeah, he had no choice in his eyes. He chose to get back, protect his family.
I think there are things left out of it.
I think you should watch it again. Watch it again. You can watch the movie with again.
Watch 3 more hours again. Dude, I gotta say, like, the movie isn't as strong for me because I shouldn't have to watch the movie a second time. You should be able to watch a movie the second time to want to watch it so you can glean more from it, not to go back and to try and see more that wasn't there to begin with. Is The Godfather one of the best films of all time for me? No.
And that's okay.
I recognize the visuals and the storytelling in some of the scenes that are pretty masterful direction and great cinematography. Brando's fantastic in it. That holds up. Because in the context of when it was made, it was before all of these other gangster films coming out and all these crime films that we've seen since then. So it is an odd experience to go back after having seen so many different crime films. You got Michael Mann's crime films, like even, I gotta say, and this comes down to personal taste, because it's not me saying that The Godfather is not a good film. I think it is a good film. But I would rather watch, say, a movie like Collateral than The Godfather. And I'll clarify, and comes down to personal preference.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let me say it. The kinds of stories that I like to watch have to deal with the clashing of good and evil. The Penguin, the recent Penguin TV show, is an example. These are stories that deal with various degrees of evil butting heads with each other. And I don't find that as connecting or connective for me. because I need to have a proxy that is someone with principles and good and trying to do good. When you have these shades of gray with evil against evil, it's not as interesting to me. And that comes down to personal preference, and The Godfather falls under that category of stories that I just don't connect with. That's the thing. But with a crime film like Collateral or Heat, you have this dichotomy going on where you have a cop who's trying to do his best, even though he has some flaws, but he has these core principles that, and he's trying to take down these criminals. But you're also spending time with Robert De Niro, and you can sympathize with De Niro's character in Heat a little bit, but I wouldn't appreciate Heat if it was all centered on De Niro's character entirely, because he's a criminal, right? With Collateral, you have Max, the cab driver, he's an innocent, is what it comes down to. He's not involved in crime at all. His faults have to do with procrastination and putting off what his dreams are and what he wants to do, and those are extremely relatable to the everyday man.
Someday my dream will come. One night you'll wake up and you'll discover it never happened. It's all turned around on you. It never will. Suddenly you are old.
So those are the kinds of stories I like to watch, where you see someone like the common man and flaws that are very relatable. When you have people involved in crime, those are things that I don't relate to. Yeah, you have like the family life and dynamics. The one thing that I can apply to the dynamics of The Godfather is at the very beginning, when Marlon Brando says to the guy who's asking for a favor to kill the two guys that roughed up his daughter, "One day I'm gonna come and I'm gonna ask for you to do me a favor." It's like, that kind of shit actually happened in my family. There's that kind of mob mentality where he's like, if I do something for you, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna ask you to do a favor for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not a gift, that's not love, that's mob mentality, right? So I can understand and relate to that. Ultimately, it's not a story that I would wanna come back to over and over again, but that's just me when it comes down to. Now I'll ask you, what is it about gangster films and mob movies that you connect with so much?
It's extremely foreign to me in the life that I live and have lived. So that in itself is interesting to me. There's a mystery to that world and that life. It's one thing to watch like one or even two really charismatic people on screen when there's just like a multitude of just really charismatic, smooth talking, cool sounding characters. There's a male camaraderie that I think I'm drawn to subconsciously. Like the way they are affectionate towards one another, I can relate to, because you've been friends with me for almost 4 years. I'm very physically affectionate. Like if I love you and I feel comfortable, I'm gonna give you a hug, I'm gonna kiss you on your cheek. But there's a lot of shitty mob movies, but the great mob movies, they're made with so much pizzazz and so much strength and style that I just find riveting, that I just want to keep on revisiting. And also too, some of the great characters in movie history and some of the great performances happen to be in some of the great mob movies.
When we connect Collateral to The Godfather, and I come back to this and say it again, people like to reference Francis Ford Coppola as one of the greatest filmmakers, and I can understand that. I don't feel that way. I would prefer crime films like Michael Mann's films. I just got done talking about Heat and Collateral. Those are my kind of crime films.
Peace,
Dragged
perfection.
Across Concrete.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Those are the kinds of crime
No
films.
Country for Old Men.
I would actually prefer Dragged Across Concrete over that. The next step is to see what I think of Godfather Part 2. I wonder because I've heard people say that Part 2 is actually better than the first, and I wonder if that might be the case with me. And we'll see. Just like
Same with Sopranos. Sopranos knew when it was time.
Sopranos?
Yeah.
You have this funny way of pronouncing some things. Like
I
even
know.
Coppola. I've never heard anyone pronounce it Coppola. It's not wrong though, because you're pronouncing it the right letters in the word.
I speak like my own
Coppola,
language.
Coppola.
Hello, I'm Francis Coppola.